Oh baby, Blackrock coming in and saving the day for these very bad, these very misbehaved Bitcoin boyos and Bitcoin girlos as they file for a Bitcoin ETF. And what does that essentially mean as far as current price action? Is this a trap or not? Is Bitcoin still destined to go lower, or is it about to catapult into the fucking moon and beyond? Other than that, I wanted to follow up on some traditional market ideas as well, as there's several things going on over there. And I suppose without further ado, we should just jump right into it. But first things first, I should let you know that you can still get the Jewel Light for free for the first 30 days if you follow the directions in the link in the description below. And then yes, there is an affiliate link to the Apex Decentralized Exchange, which may or may not be of value to you, which will award you 5% off for your trading fees. All right, enough of that. Let's just get right into it. And first things first, following up on Dixie, we're coming into this week saying, hey, Dixie is very likely in the process of putting in another weekly lower high, marked by the hidden bearish divergence and catalyzed by the FOMC and CPI data coming out. And it looks like that has happened exactly as predicted. No, just in line with the probabilities right there. First target of the low 102s is being met right here. And seeing as this has kind of happened rather quickly, I would say that this one's probably more likely to reach further down towards that 101 and a quarter-ish region, which, you know, does that kind of bode well for risk on assets like Bitcoin, like traditional markets. Well, certainly working for traditional markets, there's no doubt about that. For Bitcoin, maybe a little bit less so, but could play into a bit of a hopium picture here, as we'll go over. This, of course, is going hand in hand with our targets on NASDAQ. Earlier this week, we said, hey, likely another push to the upside, somewhere around 15,400. It looks like it's actually exceeded that target. 15,441 is current high of the week. I do think that this one is getting ready for a pullback relatively soon. You know, whether it has maybe one more slight move a little bit higher or it kind of trades a little bit sideways right here is fine. But again, when I do look at this one as likely to pull back, I would be looking at that one as extremely likely to put in a higher low and very likely charge higher on probably throughout the rest of summer. Maybe probably takes a break for the rest of summer and then charges up for the last quarter of this year. Other than that, we could go into SPY as well, but it's more or less the same here. And then more importantly, as the topic would suggest, what does this mean for Bitcoin? Well, going over here to Bitcoin on CME, I just want to kind of highlight a few things. First things first, you know, is the hopium case still alive? I suppose, yes. I mean, we did see that 24,800-ish region that we've been kind of marking off here for a long time hit, and so far so good on the bounce. It is a bounce off the mean band of the Gaussian channel for what it's worth, and as long as Bitcoin is above there, it is obviously difficult to be looking for significantly more downside. Now, as we'll be going over a little bit later, I do think that that's actually still rather likely. But of course, you know, it absolutely must be catalyzed by coming back down below that region before I start to look for massively new lower targets, at least $23,500 at that point, maybe even all the way down to $21,000. But for right now, you know, does Bitcoin get to play out a bounce in the interim? Very likely, or like very obviously, yes, I should say, in line with Dixie and in line with the strength off of traditional markets. And in this case, what else can we see here that kind of goes hand in hand with that as far as talking about a lower term time frame bounce in this case as of right now, keeping in mind that yes, later on we're going to come back to the higher term time frames. It's a bit of a different picture, but first things first, on the 6-hour time frame, we do see some regular bullish divergence actually coming off this last low right here. This was baked in, it looks like yesterday about midday, so a little bit after I finished my video. And so, you know, when looking at bullish divergence like this, you know, what essentially would be the easier targets, looking somewhere around the 21 exponential moving average, which is about 25,800, a little bit below 25,800 on CME, which does have a premium over spot price action as of right now. So do I think that, you know, we might graze a little bit higher? Yeah, definitely possible here. No doubt about that. Not anything too crazy. Of course, this was also going hand in hand with the daily HPDR ranges over here. The Herpaderp indicator, once again, providing the impetus for a bit of a relief rally off that 24,800-ish region. And, you know, again, short term probably does carry on with the bounce a little bit more. I don't think that Bitcoin's going to like shatter the floor today, or very unlikely to. If it's going to happen, probably happens in the next week. Right now is bounce time, and maybe, just maybe hopium time as well. But as you can see, you know, has a lot of work to do. As long as Bitcoin's specifically below 26,300, still problems long term. Any bounce around that region, you know, still just another lower high. And in the more short term, I should also denote that there is a bit of a 3-hour setup going on over here. It is a pretty simplistic setup. It is the Jewel Light setup, of which anytime we do see that the, in this case, a 3-hour time frame, Jewel Light go below the 36 tick right here and turn white on that first tick, alongside PMARP being below 35 percentile. percentile. That has initiated a setup that over the past 136 closed trades, which actually takes us back multiple years, has had about a 62.5% strike rate for having a pretty decent bounce. When we go into the performance summary of this, we can see that bounce, or the average winning trade, I should say, was just under 7% actually, which is significant here. So I might be doing this a disservice because I'm really making this sound like it's like, really, really good right now. And maybe it is, but we'll go over the other case, later. And again, I will say that case is actually stronger. But the average winning trade being about, just under 7%, where that put Bitcoin, that would theoretically put Bitcoin, somewhere in the upper $26,000 territory, which is very, very interesting because if you recall back on over to the last point of hopium over here, it was the falling channel on CME, and that would be the top side or very close to the top side of that falling channel, which is a formation, a pattern that does typically have a higher probability of breaking out to the upside rather than the downside. Of course, breaking out to the upside, is denoted by actually closing above the top side boundary, which is that declining trend line here, which is currently around about $27,000. But yeah, if that setup does play out, that brings you back to the top side of this formation right here. At that point, that's going to start to look pretty fucking good. Obviously, simultaneously, that would imply that Bitcoin would be back above that 26.3 pivot. And okay, Bulaw's got the balls back in their court. And we just look at that as, a nice bounce off the mean band of the Gaussian channel. But for right now, I do want to be on record as saying that I do think that there are more important things actually going on here on the higher term time frame. So while we've just kind of spent the earlier portion of this video, talking about maybe more happy ideas for the Bulaws, now we can go into the 5-day time frame. So yesterday we denoted that, hey, there is a head and shoulders on the 5-day RSI right here. We have a double left shoulder right here. We have a head right here, and there's a lazy right shoulder Quasimodo motherfucker over here as well. And yes, Bitcoin didn't necessarily close, or did it close below the neckline? Closed basically right at the neckline, maybe a smidgen below. I'd say that that's still, is very, very concerning for the Bulaws. Yeah, I do think that this one probably does carry it a little bit lower. Maybe you just want to see one more period close just below that midline right there, that 50 read, and that would kind of curtail any sort of hopium that might be still in the air in the short term. Other than that, I did want to also denote that on the lower term timeframes, 4-hour, 6-hour time frame, there will be natural potential for hidden bearish divergence on this current rally, as long as Bitcoin is essentially below these last pair of highs over here, which is in the low $26,000 territory. The reason why I say that is because the 4-hour RSI is already making higher highs above those highs. So as long as Bitcoin is below that region, that is going to be a consideration. Obviously, that would imply that Bitcoin needs to confirm a local high first, which would, I guess Bitcoin would have to come back down below about 25,350. Yeah, if it comes back down below 25,350, at that point, there's your hidden bearish divergence confirmed, and very likely we do see a retest of the current lows, maybe a little bit lower, hitting that Gaussian channel mean band yet again. And then on top of that, I did want to go back over here. Yeah, over here, and just reference the higher term time frame stochastic momentum because, well, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Daily time frame continuing with this downswing momentum as long as Bitcoin's below $26,000. Okay, fair enough. 2-day time frame is going to be freshly trending down on CME, obviously already down on spot price action, but on CME, $26,000 also going to be showing up right there. 5-day time frame also going to be showing heavy downside pressure below 29,100, and the weekly, which closes today, also showing downside pressure below about 28,900 as well. So, I do think that this is more somber in detail. That is why I did say at the beginning, at the outset of this one, it's like, we're going to talk about some hopium at first, but personally speaking, unless if there's like a, nice closure today above $26,000, I think that this bounce is just that, probably a bounce before trying lower again next week. We still do have that 2-day time frame volatility versus stochastic momentum setup viable. I have not shown, however, my very serious face over here, but what I will do, and need to be a little more cognizant of this, as I bring it up, and I just want to kind of spend a little bit of a moment speaking about it. So let me just find it on my list over here. Boom, there we go. All right, get out of my face, trading view. Lovely. All right, so I'm referring to this chart over here, right? If you've been on this channel, then you're very, very likely familiar with it. And essentially this, we are seeing volatility expand. It is very obvious coming off the 2-day time frame right here. You can see it coming off of those lows, and we have seen now 2 successive periods closing above that 10 percentile read. So I do look at this as expansion alongside the moving moving average on it. This is essentially in play, and the probabilities would favor the downside, as we do see that 2-day time frame stochastic oscillator is still positioned to the downside. So, can Bitcoin spend some time bouncing around here? Yeah, absolutely. But assuming we don't see any, higher term time frame reclaims of 26,000, I do think that this bounce is just that. So I do think that's just, a bit of a somber detail right there. Of course, when we are talking about, a higher hit rate on these sort of things, in this case, in like the low 80%, that doesn't necessarily mean 100%. So I guess it can still fail. Yes. We definitely need to see the next 2-day time frame close back above the stochastic momentum pivot, which is now 25,700. Bitcoin is currently living about $150 below that as of right now. Not anything super concerning, but also not closing today. It's closing tomorrow. So, today is it a bounce day, and then tomorrow it closes below, and then we see continuation of next week. I would say that that's rather likely. Again, granted what we did see on the 5-day and on the weekly. And then, of course, referencing the 3-hour setup over here, I would say that if hidden bearish divergence does get confirmed below 25,350, this one's going to fail very, very obviously as well. Expect a retest of the current lows, rather abruptly, and then maybe it sets it up for continuation of new lows on this current move coming into next week. So, a little bit of hopium, a little bit of doomium right there. I hope that the pivots are very, very clear, because this has been pretty fucking frustrating market, just really, really boring. Even the downside moves are very slow and controlled here. So anyways, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off on this particular video. A long way of saying that in the higher term timeframes, very little has changed. In the lower term timeframes, yeah, nice little bounce here. I guess it would be viable to be giving the BULAs a chance, to just see like is any like major area reclaimed on this current move. But I suspect that picture will be clarified. Probably today, maybe by latest Sunday, and then it's game on yet again. So. Other than that, I think it's time for me to wish you the best as always. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.